Good morning. Back in 1980, I had a VHS player, and I loved going to the video store and going and choosing a movie. And Marsh and I would watch on a Friday night and just be able to go to the movies but still be in our own home. The VHS tape was such a new thing. And there was even a big debate going on. Sony was coming out with a thing called the beta tape. And who was going to win, VHS format or beta format? I remember sitting around and discussing it with my friends. But I loved going to this little video shop there in our neighborhood. But then things really began to change. It turned out that in 1985, there was a real downturn in the economy, the oil economy. I was pastor of Mission Bend Methodist Church in Houston then, and we were so heavily into oil, our people, and boy, it was such a hard time. Well, in Dallas, there was a man named David Cook. He had been involved in the oil industry. He had been managing supplies and inventory, and he was really having a hard time. His wife wanted to get into a video store. And so he decided to check into it and decided there was real possibility, and he went and opened up a video store. He knew how to manage inventory, and it just boomed. It boomed so much that he figured out how he could start a whole bunch of other stores all over Dallas and other places. And within 1 year, he had opened up 20 stores, and he called them Blockbuster. I mean, it became all the rage. Stores were opening up so fast. It attracted the attention of a man named Wayne Huizenga. He was involved in waste management. He was running a huge multi-million-dollar business, and he had the capital to pour in. And so he bought Blockbuster. They really began opening Blockbuster stores all across America. In fact, in the end, by 1993, there were 3,600 Blockbuster stores across the United States, and it was said they were opening a new Blockbuster store every 17 hours. They would continue to ratchet it all the way up to over 9,000 Blockbuster stores, more than 60,000 employees across the United States, but it actually went around the world with 85,000 employees around the world in Blockbusters. But Wayne Huizenga saw the problem starting to happen. There was new technology coming along. He couldn't quite see how to navigate it, and so he decided to sell. And in 1994, he sold Blockbuster for $8.4 million to Viacom. Viacom thought this was a great deal. They could see the future and how big it was going to go. Well, there began to be problems. It was actually in 1997, after they had now purchased it, that Warner Brothers came to Blockbuster and said, "We'll give you rentals, and we want 40% of the income, but we'll give you the new movie rentals before anybody else." And Blockbuster said no. They liked the way the setup was. They said no. And so they went other places. It was a huge strategic failure decision on Blockbuster. In the end, it was 1998, a new little company started up called Netflix. And Netflix began having subscription service, streaming services. And they came to Blockbuster and said, "We would love for you to buy us out, for us to be able to partner with you." Blockbuster laughed them out of the office. They could have bought them for $50 million. They said no. So Netflix went its own way. Again, a huge strategic failure and decision. And so then you had the DVDs come along. And when the DVDs came along, they began to try to carry them. But now you could get them in so many places. By 2010, Blockbuster had to file for bankruptcy. They had to file for bankruptcy. In 2011, it was Dish that picked them up. They bought Blockbuster for $350 million. 17 years earlier, it sold for $8.4 billion. By 2018, Dish couldn't turn them around. There were 4 stores left, 3 in Alaska and 1 in Bend, Oregon. The other 3 in Alaska have closed. There is 1 Blockbuster left in the United States, and that's in Bend, Oregon. I'm going to go visit it tomorrow. We're going to go see the last Blockbuster. It's going to be my first on-site thing where I'm talking about a coffee with Bob. But what I just simply wanted to remember today was life is always changing, and we will either be changing with it or we become obsolete. We find ourselves very uncomfortable in the world, whether individually, whether it's in our businesses or our churches. I think of all the change we've had to go through in the last year because of a pandemic. Putting all of our worship services online, trying to find new ways to be able to do that, creating apps for Roku TV, for Apple TV. I look at all the things we've been trying to do, creating Coffee with Bob's and Weekdays with Wendy, and we've done so many things to try to adapt to an ever-changing world. And though the pandemic is going to be going away, we will not be going back to the way things used to be. There will always be more and more ways that we have our apps, the platforms by which we share the good news of Christ, the ways we are trying to reach out to one another. The world changes, and we have to adapt with the new technology in the new world the way that it goes. I don't want St. Luke's Methodist Church to be the last Methodist church standing in the country. We don't want to be that last church. We want to continue to be the church that is sharing God's love and bringing hope to the world into the next century, because the gospel continues to be relevant, and you and I can continue to adapt and change. So here's to the end of a pandemic coming, and here's to the change and a new world that we will embrace. Have a great day.